The Tudor Black Bay is probably the most popular entry-level Swiss luxury watch that you can buy today. I've wanted to try one out for some time, and I recently picked up this ETA red version. I've spent a good month with it on the wrist, and I'd like to share with you my thoughts about the model. I've become a big fan. I'm going to be dropping in some pictures and videos that I hope will help illustrate what this watch is like to use day in and day out, what it's like to see in different lights, and I hope you can get a sense of the details that I think make this watch a very compelling offering for the price point. The first thing is the dial. Now the dial just looks flat black in most lights, but if you get it in the right light, or if you get it in direct sunlight, it becomes apparent that it's actually quite a dynamic dial. There's a slight concave domed shape to it, and also a very faint texture, a fine grit pattern that I really appreciate. There's little details like that that come to play that aren't readily apparent at first. I enjoy those types of things, and this watch is chock full of them. I love the hands. You have the large, long snowflake hands. They're kind of a love it or hate it design. I really like them, and I like the generous application of lume. If you look at that second hand with this square lume pip near the end, it's placed perfectly. Notice as it sweeps past the text, the rotor self-winding text, it doesn't obscure the text whatsoever. And it also doesn't obscure the circular hour markings. It's fit perfectly within that void. And that's another example of a small detail that you don't pick up with at first, but with more time with the watch on your wrist, you come to notice. One thing that I also like about the hands and the indices, they're finished in that rose gold or that gilt tone. And the reason why I like that, besides it offering a little bit more elegance, I like how it looks with my yellow gold wedding band. Normally I don't like wearing yellow gold and steel. I think it looks a little silly, but that gold tone just matches perfectly the yellow gold of my ring, and I think it has some great asymmetrical strength to it. So I enjoy wearing my yellow gold band with my Black Bay. I think that's kind of a fun thing. If we look at the finishing of the watch, it's absolutely on par with what you'd expect from its older brother, the Rolex Submariner, the 114060. There's great polishing, there's very deep defined brushing. That is, it's a joy to look at, I'll be honest with you. Look at those polished chamfered edges. They look so sharp and so crisp. It's really quite cool. Now, I will say that this is not Grand Seiko level finishing, but it is absolutely on par with Rolex, and definitely Omega and what else you would find at the luxury price point. Another thing that I like is the coin edging of the bezel. It matches the edging found on the crown. There's strength when designers match those textures. I like seeing that. And I've got a coin here, a silver dollar from the 1800s. It's kind of fun to see them side by side. That's a neat little touch. Another thing I enjoy is actually going to be on the clasp. The clasp has ceramic ball bearings that act as the detent that lock the clasp in place. The sound, the feel, the action is so nice, and you don't normally see ceramic ball bearings on a watch. I've seen them on Damasco, I've seen them on Patek Philippe, but it's uncommon, and it's actually quite functional, so I really enjoy that little detail. Another thing that's kind of interesting, if you look at the logo, you have the old school Tudor rose. It's found here on the dial, and it's also found here on the crown. I really enjoy that, but it's not the only logo found on the watch. If you look at the bracelet, you have in relief here on the clasp the Tudor shield form. It's also apparent here when you lock the flip lock, you've got the Tudor shield, which matches the logo here that you see on the case back. So you have a good mix of the new Tudor shield logo mixed with the old Tudor rose, which I find to be another neat little touch. The crystal is a domed sapphire crystal. There is no anti-reflective coating, which is kind of a shame because, like I mentioned before, that dial is so dynamic with its domed form, the grit texture, the long snowflake hands, the applied indices, the crisp printing, and it would be nice to see that more defined and more clear. So that is a drawback to the watch. Tudor should put some anti-reflective coating on the underside of this domed sapphire crystal. I think that that would improve it, but it does not have that coating. And don't ask me why. Rolex just does not put anti-reflective coating on their sapphire crystals. I'm not sure of the reason. Another thing that I really enjoy is with any Black Bay purchase, they give you an additional fabric NATO strap. It's a one piece with holes sewn into the strap to match the length, the lug-to-lug length of the watch perfectly. And I've never seen nicer hardware on a NATO. You can see this is very finely machined with brushed and polished sections. And also a nice little touch with the buckle here. We have the top of the Tudor shield in form. So I enjoy that. If you come up close to look at the texture of the weave, it's very faint and it's very well put together. I enjoy the strap. I don't wear it that often because the bracelet is so comfortable. This feels like a Rolex Submariner bracelet. I mean, yes, it is the Oyster style, but there's very little flex or give. There is screw links, and it just has such an enjoyable drape and feel on the wrist. The fabric strap is awesome, but I really just don't use it as much because the bracelet is so nice. So if you are a bracelet fan, you will enjoy the bracelet here on the Tudor Black Bay. The Lume kind of has a creamy tone, a creamy white tone in daylight, but it does glow green. It's not quite as potent as Seiko's Lume Bright, but it is very bright and it is very long lasting. I have not been disappointed by the Lume on this watch. So I'd like to show you the action of the bezel and crown now. This is the bezel. It's very snappy. It's very loud. And I'll tell you what, it is smooth as butter. So easy to operate. I really enjoy the action of this bezel. So it is 60 click, but it's so much fun to use. I gotta do it again. Listen to this. So loud, so snappy, no play. So much fun to use. I love the bezel. This is the crown action. We have an oversized crown here, very easy to operate. Unscrew, pull it out to the second position, and we've hacked the second hand. Push it in. And there it goes again. This is the winding. It is much smoother than any other ETA 2824 that I've tried. It's not as smooth as, say, a Rolex or the Tudor in-house movement, but you can definitely feel the quality. And then you just push it in and screw down. The action is very pleasant, very easy to use. Okay, so let's go over the negative points. The first thing you'll probably hear is, oh, it's just an ETA 2824. I can't fathom spending the $2,000 to $3,000 on that movement when I can get the same movement in a $500 watch. Fair enough, let's talk about that. The thing that I love about Tudor is they're making no qualms about the movement that's inside. They're not trying to hide the fact that it is a 2824. You know, they're not stamping their name on the rotor and rebranding it the Caliber 5 or the B17. And I appreciate that. But this isn't the base 2824-2 that you'll find in your $500 watch. Tudor takes the top grade and they upgrade it and they regulate it to 5 positions. Instead of standard components on the 2824-2, you'll get upgraded components like Kif shock absorbers or a Glycidor balance wheel or Niverox 2 hairspring. Not to mention the regulation to 5 different positions and the testing of the amplitude. Tudor specialists upgrade and adjust this watch, and they've been making a living doing that for decades. I mean, they're experts. That's what they do. So you're getting a proven movement with upgraded parts, great positional accuracy, and that hand-done fine-tuning to get this thing running like a chronometer. I can appreciate that. They're not hiding the fact that it is an ETA, they're upgrading it, they're regulating it, and they're saying, hey, we've made a living of doing this for the past 50 years. We're going to continue to do what we're good at. So I can understand the point, yeah, it's just an ETA, but I can also say, you know what? I'm proud of the ETA that's in my Black Bay. I like this movement. There's nothing to be ashamed of in that respect. Like I mentioned earlier, that domed sapphire crystal that's so beautiful does not have anti-reflective coating. I'm not exactly sure why Rolex refuses to do that. I really think it would improve the Black Bay here. The other big negative is going to be it doesn't have a date. I know a lot of you guys, you gotta have a date on your watch. You're used to it, you rely on it, and the Tudor Black Bay does not come with a date function. Now the reason for that obviously is going to be, yes, this is a heritage watch. It's inspired by the original Rolex and Tudor Submariners, which did not have a date function. They were purely tool watches. I appreciate that, but if you're the type of person where you really rely on that date, don't buy this watch. It'll drive you crazy. But if you can appreciate it for what it is and you don't mind occasionally looking at your computer or your smartphone or a calendar, by all means get this watch because it is quite beautiful and quite fun to wear. So those are really the only three things that I'd say would be a negative point, or could be considered a negative point: the AR coating, the movement, and the lack of a date. But those things really are subjective, and on the whole, I'm extremely happy with this watch. I'm looking forward to wearing it for a long time. I don't quite know if it's going to be a keeper. I mean, watch collecting is a fluid thing for me. I could end up flipping it if the price ever became right. But right now, I am just going to enjoy this thing. I'm going to wear it, and I'm going to have a smile on my face. So like I mentioned, I have worn it in a variety of situations. I've taken it hiking. I've worn it out in the rain. I've gone exercising. I've played sports with it. I've worn it with camo shorts. I've worn it with a shirt and tie. I took it to a wedding. I traveled with it to Alaska. We visited a glacier. I've worn this in a variety of different circumstances with different clothing, and I have to say I do enjoy the versatility of the watch. It's a very easy watch to wear on the fabric strap or on the bracelet. The quality is here. I love the brand. I love that it's not quite as popular or well known as Rolex, but it still retains that wonderful quality, the wonderful attention to detail that Rolexes have. I love the brand direction. It's really going in a great place. There is an elegant, functional feel. You can tell that it was designed off of tool watches. You know, it was inspired by the original divers from the golden age of diving from the 50s and 60s. So it's got a great balance of heritage, history, function, yet modern technologies, great weight, great feel, great versatility, and all those little details that I mentioned earlier just make such an enjoyable watch to use day in and day out. The lume, the bezel action, the crown action, the clasp, the ceramic ball bearings, the gilt color tone, the length of the hands, the logo of the rose and the Tudor shield, the fabric strap. It really is quite a fun package. I find very little negative things to say about it. So those are my thoughts about the watch. Those are some of the details that I really like and some of the negative things that I've thought of. If you have questions, please go ahead and let me know. I'd be more than happy to answer them. I will be doing a video talking about the ETA Black Bay versus the new in-house Black Bay and which one should you buy if you're really interested in buying a Tudor. So stay tuned for that. So thanks for watching, guys. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I'll definitely catch you in the next video. Cheers.